Welcome back to this course. Now let's talk about annual income tax return. So this is the second classification of your income tax filing. The first one are your quarterly income tax returns, and this would be the second one, the annual income tax return. So what is an annual income tax return? So this summarizes your final income tax due for the year. If you remember in our previous discussions, we talk about the cumulative nature of our quarterly income tax returns. And this one, the final income tax return that will be filed in any taxable year, would summarize the first, second, third, and fourth quarter income tax returns. So this is also the time, or this is the form that you will use in order to adjust for any excess or deficit tax payments during the year. So it's possible that there are some items that you were not able to consider. It is in this form that you rectify those faults. So this is how your annual income tax return would look like if you are a self-employed individual, i.e. a professional or a small, medium enterprise, sole proprietorship. So this is how your income tax return would look like. Again, this was filled out using the EBIR form software provided by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. So here are just some notes on income tax filing. First, if applicable, waiver of the husband's right to claim additional exemption. So generally speaking, this is no longer applicable because of the train law. But before, this was a requirement since there are personal and additional exemptions, and it was the father who usually gets or uses the additional personal exemptions. But now it's no longer applicable since there are no personal or additional exemptions under the train law. So if you also have tax debits during the year, if you're claiming tax deductions or credits, you have to present or attach the proof of these tax debits and tax credits. Also, if you're filing an amended return for the same taxable year, you have to attach the income tax return previously filed and, of course, the proof of payment. So what does this mean? It means that after you filed your annual income tax return, you may still revise your previously filed annual income tax return if you saw some mistakes, and you will not be penalized for this one, but you will have to pay for the interest payments for the difference if there are any differences. So you just simply file the amended return and you attach the previously filed income tax return. Now, this is one way to avoid being penalized, because once the BIR sees or is able to audit your tax filings, that's when you will have to pay penalties, and the penalties will be quite heavy, and we will discuss those penalties later. Now, additional note, if your gross quarterly sales, earnings, receipts, or output exceeded 3 million pesos, you need to file an account information form and or the certificate of the independent CPA with audited financial statements. And if your books of accounts with gross annual sales, earnings, receipts, or output exceeds 3 million per year, it must be audited by a CPA, a certified public accountant. So this also is a benefit for us, because when your gross sales or revenue does not exceed 3 million pesos, during the taxable year, then there's no need for your books to be audited by a certified public accountant. All right, so those are just some quick notes regarding our tax filing, the annual income tax filing, and we'll talk about the filing of income tax returns in more detail in the next videos.